Welcome, my dear students. Welcome back. Silk Road Part 4. And today I am going to finish the explanation part. I hope I'll be able to complete the question answers too. So let us begin Silk Road explanation. So next paragraph. The hard words are pellets, derelict, heaps, and wisp. The Tibetan doctor gave him a 5-day course. He came out with a brown envelope which had 15 screws of paper. After having breakfast, he opened the after breakfast package, which had a brown powder which he had to take with hot water. It tasted like cinnamon, and the lunchtime and bedtime packages were nearly the same. They looked like a sheep dung. Both had small spherical brown packages. After taking the full day medicine, he slept peacefully that night. Satan left him in Darshan when he came to know that he is going to be fine. He told him as a Buddhist that if he had passed away, it would not matter, but it would be bad for business. Next day, Darshan was not looking so bad. It was dusty, partially ruined, and had loads of rubble and refuse everywhere. The brightly shining sun in the blue sky gave him the vision of Himalayas. Gurla Mandhata. He was able to see a little bit with clouds suspended over it. Next paragraph. The hard words are rudimentary, incongruous, brook, and pondering. Now explanation. Darshan had some basic general stores selling Chinese soaps, cigarettes, and strings of prayer flags. Every afternoon, yes, every afternoon men would gather for a game of pool. They would sit around a shabby table looking strange in the open air, while women washed their hair in iced water of a small stream which flowed all the way to his guest house. Darshan had no pilgrims, which were a setback for him. He was told that in the peak season of pilgrimage, in this town was filled with visitors. Some brought their own accommodation, such as tents, which was set up in the plains. He felt that he had arrived at that place too early. One day, while he was thinking about his options, while having a glass of tea at Darshan's only cafe, he concluded that there are limited options for him, as he made little progress on the self-help program on positive thinking. Next paragraph. Hard words are well trodden, cavernous, reed, and stout. Now let us begin the explanation. He was having difficulty in sleeping, which had not made it easy for him. He had no option other than to wait until the peak season of pilgrimage. The trail was much frequented by the travelers. He could do Kora alone, but it was a seasonal session because of the route blockage by snow. He had no idea if the snow was cleared, and he was not feeling good about dirty ice that still resided on the bank of Darshan's small streams. He had been facing communication problems since Satan left him. No one knew much English to answer his basic questions. Then he met Norbu in a cafe, which was small, dark and vast, with long metal stove. The walls and ceilings were twisted in multicolored plastic sheets of different colored stripes. It was made into a form and big shopping bags, which were sold over China and in many other countries of Asia and Europe. Plastic was China's successful export along the Silk Road nowadays, in today's scenario. Next paragraph. Hard word is rickety. Rickety means unstable. An explanation. That cafe had only one window, which he would take so that he could see his notebook clearly. And he would also bring a novel with him to pass time. Norbu once saw his book and asked if he could sit opposite him at his unstable table. He asked him if he is English after he ordered tea. He told him that he was English, means English speaking. The protagonist guessed that he must not be a local, as he was wearing a wind cheater and metal rimmed spectacles which were of his Western style. Norbu was a Tibetan who worked in Beijing at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences in the Institute of Ethnic Literature. Norbu told him that he had come here to do Kora. The protagonist was happy. Norbu was writing academic papers on Kailash Kora, and it is important in various Buddhist literature works. He had never done the Kora himself. Next paragraph. Hard words are tiresome, transpired, envisaged, devout, and prostrating. An explanation now. Norbu was excited when he got to know why the protagonist was at Darshan. He said, "They could be a team who are two academists who escaped from the library." The protagonist believed his positive thinking strategy was working. Norbu was also staying at a guest house just like him, and Norbu was as ill-equipped like him. Norbu kept telling him that he was too dull, boring and tired to work, and he was fat. Norbu was not a practicing Buddhist, but he was an enthusiast. Originally, the protagonist predicted that the trek would be good in a company of any deep believer, but he found Norbu to be an ideal partner. They decided to hire some yaks to carry their luggage, and he had no intention of lying down flat all over the mountain. Norbu finally said it is not possible for him, while he collapsed across the table, laughing hilariously. His tummy was also too big. So, my dear students, I have completed explanation, and now this is the time to help you in doing the question answers. Give reasons for the following statements. So the article has been titled Silk Road. So what is the reason behind it? What you can write? The article has been titled Silk Road because the protagonist explored the region of Old Silk Route, which was one of the historical routes for trade. The route connected Afro-Eurasian land. Trade of Chinese silk, spices, teas and porcelain, Indian textiles, pepper and precious stones, Roman Empire's gold, silver, glassware, wine, carpets and jewels were done. So the title is suitable because the central theme of the whole chapter is Silk Road only. The story revolves around Silk Road. Next, Tibetan mastiffs were popular in China's imperial courts. Give reason. So here, Tibetan mastiffs were popular in China's imperial courts as big hunting dogs. They were fearless and furious with big jaws. They were brought along the Silk Road as a watchdog from Tibet, and they were a tribute in ancient times. Question number 3. The author's experience at Hor was in stark contrast to earlier accounts of the place. Of course, Hor was an ugly and miserable place which had no vegetation and just dust and rocks. It was scattered with gathered refuse, and it is a luckless place that it was on the shore of Lake Mansarovar, which is Tibet's most respected water. Ekai Kawaguchi was a Japanese monk who arrived in the town in 1900. He was so moved with the purity of the lake that he cried. After a few years, similar effect was on Sven Hedin, a Swedish, who did not have such an emotional outburst. The protagonist's car suffered from 2 punctures in that place. When he reached that place's only cafe to have some tea, the place was filled with badly painted concrete and When he reached that place's only cafe to have some tea, the place was filled with badly painted concrete and 3 broken windows. Next question. The author was disappointed with Darshan. Yes, he was disappointed with Darshan because he was having health issues due to change in altitude. He had a cold and was unable to sleep at night. The place had no pilgrims. It was filled with loads of remains and trash. Question number 5. The author thought that his positive thinking strategy, it worked very well after all. Yes, it is really working in the story because he finally met someone who understood his language and was there to complete the Quora just like him. He met Norbu at Darshan's only cafe. Earlier he got ill. As soon as he reached the place, no one understood English well. He felt lonely as there was no pilgrims around. He decided to team up with him to complete his journey. He was glad. He maintained his positive thinking approach in life. Question number 2. You have to briefly comment on the purpose of the author's journey to Mount Kailas. So the purpose was to complete the Quora, which is an essential display in Buddhism. Buddhist believers are to be performed meditation in this process. Question number 2. The author's physical condition in Darshan. So his sinus was blocked because of the cold weather and altitude change. He did not sleep well, and the next day he went to the Tibetan doctor who gave him some medicine. The author's meeting with Norbu. So it was time when he was feeling lonely in Darshan, as Satan has left for Lhasa and no one knew the English language much in that place. There were no pilgrims at that time of year. He met Norbu at local cafe. And Norbu was an academic from Beijing who worked for the Institute of Ethnic Literature. He was at Darshan to complete the Quora. So he was like a helping hand to him, a support. Next question. Satan's support to the author during the journey. So he really played a very important role. He was an efficient driver. He took care of the author when he got ill. He took him to the medical college and got medicine for him. He also informed him about the different places they were visiting in their journey. As a Buddhist, he told me he knew that it did not really matter if I passed away, but he thought it would be bad for business. So, Satan was a Buddhist who believed that death is not the end. He might have gone directly to heaven, as Kailash is a holy place. He thought it would be bad if the author died because it might affect his business and he would not get any customers in future. He could have lost his credibility. So for the protagonist part, that was good, but for him it was not good. So that's all for this chapter, and now we have only one chapter left to complete the syllabus, and that we will do in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.